Hi all, this is Jan Almighty and welcome to this video. So in this video again we have a game from the candidates tournament. This is round 11 and in this game on the white side is Levon Aronian, a guy that everybody is now talking about, that he is some kind of a choker, that every time that he comes to the candidates tournament that he essentially just doesn't give his full potential, and in the end, yeah, everybody's hoping at some point that Aronian will win the candidates and in the end challenge the world champion for the title. But yeah, this is I don't know which of his candidates, but in all of them, yeah, he didn't really manage to come even, I think, to the first 3 places. So it just happens so that he fails in these kinds of tournaments during the year. Maybe he shows his true potential and his true strength. But yeah, as it so happens, also in this tournament, he is not that good. Currently, he is in the last place, and he is playing against Karjakin here, a guy who also had a bad start to the tournament, but somewhere there in the middle, he started to wake up, and maybe we will see a pattern from the last year's candidates where he also started with a bad result, but in the end managed to go to the first place. So there is, after this game, there is still 3 rounds to go and we will see what happens. So in this game we have c4, knight to f6, knight to f3, e6, g3 and d5. So some kind of a English opening with g3 idea. So if d4 would be pushed, it would be transferred into a Catalan. We have bishop to g2 and now d takes on c4. So yeah, this is some kind of a Catalan defense in the English opening. And we have now queen to a4 check. So as you can see, this bishop is on g2, so the queen is forced to take this pawn on c4, c6, and queen takes on c4. So now we have b5 right away, and this is a similar setup that I've already shown you in a game today between Wesley So and Mamedyarov. Here Wesley played queen to c2, but queen to b3 was played by Aronian. Bishop to b7 nevertheless, and castles. Bishop to e7 and d4, expanding in the center. So as we will see in this game, it is a similar pattern to that game that I already shown you, but with a little bit of a difference. So going more into, not into exchanging pieces, but rather into battle, as it should be on a game in a tournament such as the candidates. We have castles and rook to d1. So yeah, just putting the rook on the d file, it will be very important because knight to e5 is a natural move that follows. We have knight from b to d7. As you can see, a very similar setup to that game, but with one main difference. Now knight to e5, queen to b6 was played in that game, and here we have knight to e5 right away. So he decided to play this, and now d takes on e5 is the tempo. Knight to d5 isn't possible because then e4 comes. So this is one thing you should pay attention to. So knight to d7 is the move. Bishop to f4, because now queen to c7 and this pawn would be attacked twice. You would want to prevent it with bishop to f4, even though this bishop kind of acts as a pawn for now. Knight to d2, ideas later maybe jump to e4, and with ideas to jump into d6. Rook from f to d8, occupying d file, and rook from a to c1. a6. So first you want to defend the pawn on b5, and then you want to push c5, and now queen to e3. So this queen is kind of awkwardly placed in these variations of the English opening, because she is on the 3rd rank. She is susceptible of some kind of attacks with the tempo. So yeah, you would like to move it to c2, isn't that better. Queen to e3 may be a better move at this point. But now we have c5 right away, and bishop captures on b7, queen captures on b7. Black did what he wanted. He exchanged this powerful light square bishop, which acts as a strong defender for white. And the idea is, as you look at the position now, the material is equal, but there is one main difference. White has this double e pawns, so Sergey maybe gave up a tempo there in the opening, but now he has... so the position is equal, but he has a little bit of advantage because he has these 3 pawns on the queen side while white has only 2 pawns. So now he wants to take advantage of that. First we have knight to e4, attacking on c5, and also wants to jump to d6. So we have c4 first, and now knight to d6 was possible, but first we have h4 by Aronian. So there could be some ideas of h6 g5. So he first wants to expand on the king side and also play his signature move that has been the whole of this year, h4. We have h6 and rook to d4 wants to double up on the d file. Knight to f8, so wants to stop that, exchange the rooks, and we have b3. So as you can see, these pawns are looking really good for black, so Aronian would like to disrupt that. So Karjakin first takes on d4, queen takes on d4, and rook to d8, occupying the d file first. Then he will then he will focus on the c4 pawn. But now we saw knight to d6 from Aronian. Bishop has to capture, because otherwise this knight is just too strong on d6. He captures, and now f6 first. Still not bothering with the c4 pawn, rather threatening e5. And yeah, just a little bit of expansion on there. You would also like to play f6, that you move away this bishop, because he is a really important defender of the d6 pawn. We have bishop to e3 and e5, attacking the queen. Queen has to back down, queen to b2, and now finally queen to c6, defending the c4 and attacking the d6. But now first capture, and now queen to b4, attacking the c4 and defending the d6. So both of the players are using the same ideas. And in this position, both white and black in the end have the passed pawn. White has managed to, get rid of his double pawn and create a passed pawn. That is always good. But the position is essentially equal, but not equal going to a draw, rather equal, and it still needs to be played to see what will actually happen. We have rook to c8, and black decided that he needs to defend the c4 pawn, because there isn't that much hope of capturing the d6 pawn just yet. We have f3, so making room also for the bishop and the king to come closer, and h5. Stopping g4 ideas, king to f2 and king to f7, bringing the kings closer, but be aware, not too close, because the queens are still on the board. So this is something to you'd have to think about. Rook to d1, now going for this pawn push. Knight to d7, stopping that, and now queen to b1. Since the king moved, you would like to maybe jump to h7 and threaten to capture on h5. g6 is the move Karjakin made to stop that. And now we have g4, rook move to h8 to actually stop some kind of exchanges, and then once again queen to h7 is an idea, and now g5. So this is the approach Aronian took. Of course, Karjakin wants to block off the position on the king side so that his king is safe. But the problem is, now you're creating this weak square in front of the king, and once you push this pawn or white gets rid of it, then you can have problems, because queen comes to this diagonal, and then there could be some threats. So first we have queen to c2. Wants to play queen to c3, and rook to c8 back, because now the rook isn't doing anything here. Queen to c3 attacking on e5, and king to e6, bringing the king closer. So king is pretty much safe. There aren't any checks, so he can come to e6 easily. King to g2, f4 could be an idea, so it is always good to make room for this bishop. And now we have queen to a4. Still defending your pieces and attacking your opponent's pieces. We have queen to d2. The idea is queen to d5 checkmate in 1. So because of that, queen to b5 is played, defending, and a4. So queen to c6. Still, you want to defend your pieces and defend the d5 square, and you're keeping the attack. Of course, Karjakin won't fall for something like capturing the pawn, and then he gets a checkmate in 1. We have queen to c2. Now Aronian is forced to defend this, because the king will just move, and then this pawn will be attacked. And we have rook to b8. Now all of a sudden there is this open file for the rook. Everything is defended here from the black side, and he can go into attack here. And now a peculiar move by Aronian. He played bishop to d2, the idea putting it on c3 and maybe attacking like that this pawn. But after playing rook to b3 from Karjakin, we see that Aronian is in a position where this pawn is hanging and this pawn is hanging, so he will certainly lose a pawn. a5 could have been played, but as c3 cannot be played, of course you lose the rook, but rather you can capture. King takes on z6. There aren't any checks that actually win you something. After the check, yeah, after the check, king goes to e6 and all should be good. So so a5 could have been a move, but bishop to c3 was played, and now queen to a4, and Aronian just lost the pawn, just like that. And okay, the play continues. We have rook to a1 attacking the queen, queen comes to c6, and rook to a5. So activating the rook a bit, attacking this e5 pawn. As I've said, white would really like to get rid of it so that the queen can maybe come on this diagonal and attack. So we have rook to b5 defending, and queen to a4. So yeah, kind of pinning the knight, the rook, but knight to b6, and yeah, the queen is attacked, so she has to go back. Queen to a1. Queen to a1 was played, and now rook takes on a5. Queen takes on a5, and queen to b5, offering the exchange of queens. And now a sneaky move, d7. One would think that, for example, you can capture the queen, and after bishop takes, knight can just take, because in a sense, if the queen is taken off, you can also maybe capture on c3, queen to b6, but it's not looking that good. But actually there is a better move for white, promoting with a knight. Then king comes to d7, bishop captures on a5, and also this knight is attacked. So this would win for white, so you have to be careful of that, and because of that, yeah, black just, so Karjakin just captured with the king, and now he has two pawns. Yeah, Aronian's position just getting worse and worse. We have queen to a3, threatening to go on f8 behind the king so that you can maybe give some checks. This could be a drawish position, maybe in a situation where there are only queens on the board, so in a queen endgame. But in a situation where the knight can also help in the cover, yeah, it's difficult to see how white can actually win. So black is better in this position, but he still needs to work for it. And Karjakin plays the best move, which is knight to d5, attacking this bishop, and plans to push c3 at some point. So we have bishop takes on e5. Yeah, Karjakin can just give up at least one pawn back. And now we have queen to c6. It is very important to defend the d6 square from checking, and also now c3 is a very good option. We have queen to f8 going behind the king, but queen to e6 goes on this side so that she can stop some checks and still, after some checks, defend the g6 square. And also now this bishop is attacked, and if he moves, the e2 pawn will fall. So ideas like f4 aren't that good, because knight takes on f4 with check, bishop takes, and now you have queen here, and after a couple of checks you will lose this bishop. So for example, king to g1, but it happens if king to h1, then you have queen to f3 check, you will just lose the bishop. So here in the end, Aronian didn't go for f4, he played queen to b8, which essentially stops knight to f4 ideas, and we have c3, so pushing of the pawn. And after the bishop moves, as I've said, yeah, Karjakin would really like to capture this e2 pawn. But first we have queen to b7, and now the king just escapes after a couple of checks. Queen to b7, and now knight to e7 defense. Bishop can capture on c3, but queen to e2 comes with check. King to h3 check, king to h3, sorry, and now the pawn is defended by the queen on b7. You would like to deflect it from the defense, and queen to b5 is played because of that. Here Aronian played queen to c7 and kind of solved all of Karjakin's problems, because now queen to c6, and the only two possible moves are capturing the queen and queen to e5, because you're offering the exchange of queen, but you're also attacking the bishop. Queen to e5 was played, but you're also attacking the pawn. This is with check, so king has to move. King to h2, we have queen to f2 check, king to h1, and now Karjakin picks up the rest of the pawns. Queen takes on g5 and king to h2. And now in this position, yeah, it's just losing for white. Aronian still played on for, I don't know, 10-15 moves. He could have resigned. As I said, maybe it could have been a situation where now white can hope for something with some checks, but this is just too many pawns, and also there is this knight which can help in the defense, and yeah, the king just doesn't need to go to g8, so that queen to g7 is checkmate, and he should be all fine. So we have queen to h4 check, king g1, and now queen e4 first, offering the exchange of queens, queen g7, king e6, and now bishop to f6, attacking the knight. Knight comes on d5, moving away, you don't want to lose it, and now bishop to b2 because the bishop was attacked. And now we have the absolute best move, which is f4, and now this brings this king a path to actually come closer and help into the checkmating ideas. King to h2, king to f5, queen to f8 check, king to g5, queen to d8 check, king to g4 to c8 check, king to h4, and now after this check there is g5, so we had bishop to g7, and now after this there is actually a checkmate in 4. Karjakin doesn't play the checkmate in 4, but he first gives a check here, king to h1, and now he could have played king to g3, and just, yeah, there aren't any checks of the queen, c3 is covered by the knight, so yeah, he could have just played that, but he first gave a check on f3, king h2, and now on g3, and in this position Aronian resigned the game. So it seems that Aronian is once again yeah, in the last place with not much hope. Hopefully, yeah, maybe he will manage to maybe win something in the end, but yeah, this tournament is just over for him. I can't imagine how he feels, because yeah, it must be devastating at this point. But yeah, on the other side, Karjakin, yeah, kudos to him. So nobody expected him after that start that he will come to this position. But yeah, he did, and yeah, he is now 1 point away from Caruana, who drew today, so yeah, maybe something can happen in the end of this tournament, we will see. But okay, nevertheless, I would like to thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.